Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment in our tips and tricks series for Golf Blitz for Android and iOS. Today, we will be going through a course that starts to get a little bit more technical with the elements and hazards that it introduces, and that, of course, is the Portal Lab. Now, we have explored in a couple of previous installments what portals do and how they work, but this tour specifically is meant to really delve in to this particular game mechanic, and we'll give you a couple of ideas of things you can do to enhance your gameplay on this particular set of courses. As always, if you find today's video helpful, enjoyable, and or interesting, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for that daily variety content. With all that being said, let's jump right into this tour and showcase how you can do better in the Portal Lab. So the first course that we're going to have a look at is one that's pretty interesting in terms of how it functions. Basically what you'll want to do is make your way through this portal as quickly as you can. I like using that right side, and then from here you can line up your shot to the point where you just end up on the GUI element that's on that right hand side as soon as that portal spins back around. But if you really want to try, you can wait for that block to rotate around and have more of a direct shot into the actual green, but it is risky and not always worth the time investment. Now, this hole in particular is possible to get aces off of if you're playing in a multiplayer type setting, and that's based off the fact that there's this one little portal on the wall that will send you directly down to that last section. And if other people go through before you, then you have the chance of bouncing off of their ball and ricocheting right down into the putting green and just rolling into the hole without the need of a follow-up shot. So I would actually recommend holding off on your initial shot for just a moment to make it through that first small portal and then fall down onto the green from that point for the chance of, taking one shot and getting the full reward of winning the hole. Moving right along to our next objective, we have another drop-off type shot. And again, what's going to be beneficial for you is to just take a low shot off of this area to then bank off over into the other section. Now, if you have the putty ball or the gooey ball or the sticky ball or whatever it's called, because I always call it something different, then you could potentially get locked into that shot at a little bit of a lower angle and have a better follow-up to that. However, as you just saw there, it's going to be better to come at that particular green from the left-hand side, because the portal will give you the opportunity to either fall directly into the hole or bank off of the wall and roll back in. But you also will have some diminished momentum from multiple people knocking around on that hole as you go through it. Now this hole, there's one thing that you can do initially, and that's hit right onto the lower section of this platform. However, if you are able to use a power-up to get around that, such as the Super Ball, or if I would have timed that Sniper Ball a bit better, then you would have seen that I could bypass that whole first section entirely. But if you're unable to, it's not the end of the world. My recommendation with this section is making sure that you bank off that lower curved edge, and that will force you to roll through this acceleration pad and give you a nice, easy follow-up over onto the green. So hopefully you can finish the hole before the rest of your opponents do. This hole is one that can be quite tricky, but once you figure it out, it does quite well. So what you'll want to do is take a higher chip shot like that so you can get through both portals, and ideally bank off the lower section of that wall so you don't get stuck in the goo, and then you have a very nice follow-up 3, maybe even 2 hit hole on that one, where some of your opponents are going to take 5 or 6 hits to get through. That right there was just about the most optimal play that you can make on that particular course. And then, like I was trying to showcase here before, what you can do is you can initially hit up onto this rotating section, or you can use a power-up to bypass that section completely and prevent yourself from an additional follow-up shot, getting yourself a little bit further ahead of your opponents, if that's something that you really need to do to get the edge and win against some of your try-hard opponents on that hole at least. So this hole can be a little bit tricky to deal with, but it deals with the same general concept of wanting to take a higher angle of attack in order to make your way through. And if you can hit into this portal heading a little bit further left, it will set you up for better follow-ups to the actual green itself. If you can take a sheer enough angle, you may even be able to end up on the green or in that sand trap itself. But it is something to keep in mind as an option, assuming that you are able to maintain your elevation on that right side of the platform, getting access to that portal. Now, I've been playing around a little bit more with this hole, and what you can do for more of a follow-up is you can set up to be right there and then hit down into that putting green, hopefully not getting stuck in the sticky element there on the side. And that will save you a stroke, but it may not be the faster route depending on how advanced your opponents are, particularly if they've sent or spent any of their masteries in the ball speed and cooldown masteries that you get through level up, which I recommend investing in those two primarily over the other available options. Now this hole, again, is one that can be pretty interesting. You're going to want to try and get through this red portal, and I would recommend taking a moment or two, letting a couple of your opponents go first, because as you bounce off of their balls, or if you're able to bounce off of the balls that have gone through the portal before, you may even be able to end up down here in the putting green for an ace or a hole-in-one without having to worry about a lot of the other chaos that tends to come with 4 people competing for very limited real estate down there on the lower section of the course. So this hole can be a little bit tricky, and there's one of 2 approaches you can go with. You can A, try and get a very quick chip into that blue portal, as that's a bit of a riskier move, but it can get you there earlier, or you can go with the safe option, which is going through that red portal. Either way, once you make it to this ledge, you can go through the purple portal and have a very easy path of access up to the actual green. It just depends on whether or not you're able to get a shot off quickly enough and make it through that blue portal to give yourself a little bit of an edge before heading into the next hole against your opponents. So this hole in particular can be really kind of fun, and what you'll need to do is see if you can get the timing down to send yourself through this portal at the exact time where you can end up in the little blue portal that takes you into the final section there. Ideally, if you can go off of the right-hand side, it will give you the easier follow-up because you'll roll off into this other section or this other edge. And as you make your way down to the bottom portion of this course, it finishes out fairly simple. The trick is trying to line up a shot where you can go right through that initial portal to give yourself a leg up on the competition. Well, I played through a couple extra rounds just to make sure that I've seen everything, and I do believe that I have. If you feel like there's anything that I missed from this course, or if you have other suggestions, be sure to drop those down in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to revisit them at the start of next week's episode, which will be a tips and tricks video. Thanks again for watching. If you made it this far, make sure you leave that like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we hope to see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.